Dr. Maya Williams couldn't believe what she was seeing through the thick glass window. Inside the special medical room, a tiny baby boy lay sleeping in his crib. But this wasn't just any ordinary baby. His eyes were completely different from anything she had ever seen in her 20 years as a doctor. The baby's eyes glowed like golden fire, with long black slits running down the middle instead of round pupils like normal humans. When he opened them, they seemed to shine with their own light, just like the dragons in old fairy tales. "This is impossible," Maya whispered to herself, pressing her nose against the cold glass. The baby looked perfectly healthy otherwise, 10 tiny fingers, 10 tiny toes, and a sweet little face that any grandmother would love to kiss. But those eyes changed everything. 3 days ago, Keisha and Damon Johnson had rushed to the hospital when Keisha went into labor. Everything seemed normal at first. The birth went smoothly and baby Zion appeared completely healthy. The doctors smiled, the nurses celebrated, and the proud parents cried tears of joy. Then something strange happened about 6 hours after birth. The baby's normal brown eyes began to change color. First, they turned bright yellow, then deep gold, and finally settled into that impossible amber color with the dragon-like slits. The medical team panicked. They had never seen anything like this before. Within hours, the hospital was swarming with government officials, military personnel, and scientists from all over the country. "Any updates from the lab?" asked Colonel James Carter as he walked into the observation room. He was a tall, serious man who worked for a secret government department that dealt with unusual situations. Maya shook her head. "We've run every test imaginable. Blood work, DNA analysis, brain scans, everything comes back completely normal. According to science, this baby is 100% human." "But humans don't have eyes like that," Carter said, staring at baby Zion through the glass. The timing made everyone nervous. Just 6 months earlier, Earth had made contact with an alien race called the Draconians. These beings looked like giant lizards that walked on 2 legs, and their eyes were exactly like baby Zion's eyes. "Do you think the aliens did something to him?" Maya asked quietly. "That's what everyone's worried about," Carter replied. "The president wants answers and he wants them fast." As they spoke, baby Zion opened his strange eyes and looked directly at them. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. For just a moment, it seemed like the baby was looking right into her soul, seeing things that nobody should be able to see. Suddenly, all the electronic equipment around Zion's crib started acting crazy. The heart monitor began beeping wildly, the temperature gauge spun out of control, and the lights flickered on and off like a disco. "That's the 5th time today," Carter said, making notes on his phone. "Every time he gets upset or excited, the machines go haywire." Maya watched in amazement as the baby seemed to calm down, and all the equipment returned to normal. "It's like he's affecting the electronics somehow." Down the hall, Zion's parents sat in a small waiting room, scared and confused. Keisha held Damon's hand tightly as they waited for news about their son. "They won't let us see him," Keisha said through tears. "They're treating our baby like he's some kind of monster." "He's not a monster," Damon said firmly. "He's our son and we love him no matter what." But even Damon was frightened. When Zion had looked at him earlier, he felt like the baby could see his thoughts and memories. It was both wonderful and terrifying at the same time. Back in the lab, Dr. Andre Thompson was studying the baby's blood samples under a powerful microscope. "Maya, you need to see this," he called out. Maya hurried over to look through the microscope. The blood cells looked normal, but there was something else, tiny particles that seemed to glow with their own light, moving through the blood like living stars. "What are those?" she asked. "I have no idea," Andre admitted. "They're not in any medical textbook I've ever read. They seem to be some kind of energy source, but they're definitely biological." As night fell over the medical center, baby Zion lay quietly in his special room. His dragon eyes reflected the dim light, making them look even more mysterious and beautiful. Nobody knew it yet, but this little baby would change everything for humanity. His birth marked the beginning of something incredible, the awakening of powers that humans had carried inside them for millions of years, just waiting for the right moment to emerge. The strange eyes were just the beginning. 5 years had passed since baby Zion was born with those incredible dragon eyes. Now, the little boy had become the most famous child on Earth, though he lived his life in a secret government facility that had become his home. Dr. Maya Williams watched through the one-way glass as Zion sat at a small table, working on what looked like impossible math problems. But these weren't normal math worksheets that kindergarten kids usually got. These were quantum physics equations that made grown scientists scratch their heads in confusion. "Show me what you see in the sky today," Maya said through the speaker system that connected her to Zion's room. The 5-year-old closed his amazing golden eyes and tilted his head slightly. His dragon-like pupils seemed to glow brighter for a moment. The big fire in the sun is getting angry again. It's going to throw a tantrum tomorrow at 3:47 in the afternoon. The people in the space station should hide behind the moon. Maya felt goosebumps rise on her arms. For 3 years now, Zion had been predicting solar flares with perfect accuracy. NASA had quietly started moving their satellites and warning astronauts based on what a little boy with glowing eyes told them. "How does he do it?" whispered Dr. Lisa Davis, the newest member of their research team. She had joined the project just last month and was still amazed by everything Zion could do. "We honestly don't know," Maya replied. "His brain scans show activity in areas that are normally dormant in humans. It's like he's using parts of his mind that the rest of us can't access." In his room, Zion was now drawing pictures with crayons. But these weren't typical kid drawings of houses and stick figures. He was sketching detailed star maps, showing planets and solar systems that hadn't been discovered yet by human telescopes. "Look at this," said Dr. Andre Thompson, pointing to his computer screen. "Remember that drawing Zion made last week of the weird swirling galaxy? The Hubble telescope just confirmed it exists, exactly where he said it would be." The adults studying Zion had learned not to question his abilities anymore. They had tried for years to find scientific explanations, but the boy seemed to operate beyond normal human understanding. Suddenly, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Red lights flashed in the hallways as security personnel rushed to their positions. "What's happening?" Maya demanded, grabbing her phone to call the control room. Before anyone could answer, Colonel Carter burst through the door. His usually calm face looked worried and excited at the same time. "The Draconians are back," he announced. "A massive ship just appeared in Earth's orbit, and they're sending us a message." Maya felt her heart skip a beat. The alien dragon-like beings hadn't contacted Earth in over 2 years. Their last visit had been brief and mysterious, leaving more questions than answers. "What do they want?" Dr. Davis asked nervously. "They want to meet Zion," Carter replied. Their message specifically mentioned the young one with dragon sight. They seemed to know about him somehow. In his room, Zion had stopped drawing and was staring directly at the ceiling, as if he could see through the building and into space itself. His golden eyes were glowing brighter than anyone had ever seen before. "They're here for me," he said in his small but clear voice. "They've been looking for someone like me for a very long time." Within hours, the most incredible meeting in human history was about to take place. The Draconian ship landed in a secure field next to the research facility. The massive alien vessel looked like it was made of living metal, shifting and changing shape as it settled onto the ground. 3 Draconians emerged from their ship. They were enormous beings, standing nearly 8 feet tall, with scales that shimmered like jewels and eyes identical to Zion's. But despite their intimidating size, they moved gracefully, almost gently. The lead Draconian, who wore what looked like ceremonial robes, approached the building where Zion waited. When she spoke, her voice was surprisingly warm and musical. "Greetings, people of Earth," she said. "I am Commander Arya of the Qthara. We have traveled far to meet the child who carries the ancient gift." Dr. Maya Williams, Colonel Carter, and several other officials met the aliens in the main conference room. But everyone's attention focused on the moment when Commander Arya first saw Zion. The massive alien being actually knelt down on one knee to be at eye level with the small boy. When their identical dragon eyes met, something amazing happened. Both Zion and Commander Arya began to glow with a soft, golden light. "At last," Commander Arya whispered. "Young guardian of Earth, you are not alone in this vast universe. Your awakening marks the beginning of something wonderful for your entire species." Zion smiled for the first time in months, finally meeting someone who understood what it was like to see the world through dragon eyes. Commander Arya sat across from the human research team in the largest conference room at the facility. Her massive form barely fit in the specially reinforced chair, but her dragon eyes held a gentle warmth that made everyone feel surprisingly comfortable. Little Zion sat between Dr. Maya Williams and his parents, Keisha and Damon, who had finally been allowed to stay with their son. "Your people call us Draconians," Commander Arya began, her musical voice filling the room. "But our true name is Qthara, which means those who see beyond, in our ancient language." Colonel Carter leaned forward in his chair. "Commander, we need to understand what's happening to this child. Is he some kind of hybrid? Did your people do something to alter his genetics?" Commander Arya's scaled face showed what might have been amusement. "Nothing was done to young Zion. What you see is pure human potential finally awakening after sleeping for countless generations. Dr. Lisa Davis pulled up holographic displays showing Zion's DNA analysis. But that's impossible. We've mapped every strand of his genetic code. He's completely human. Of course he is, Commander Arya replied. But humans carry much more in their genetic memory than your science has discovered. Long ago, before your species even existed, there were beings of incredible power who traveled between the stars. Your people might call them the first ones. The room fell silent except for the quiet hum of electronic equipment. Even Zion seemed to be listening intently, his golden eyes reflecting the soft lighting. Commander Arya continued her story. These first ones could see across time and space, bend reality to their will, and travel between dimensions as easily as you walk through doorways. But they were ancient and tired, ready to move beyond this physical universe to whatever comes next. What does this have to do with Zion? Asked Keisha, protectively placing her hand on her son's shoulder. Before the first ones departed, they planted seeds of their abilities into promising species throughout the galaxy. Not all at once, but gradually, waiting for each race to evolve enough to handle such power responsibly. Dr. Andre Thompson adjusted his glasses nervously. Are you saying that humans were chosen by these ancient beings? Not chosen, Commander Arya corrected. Prepared. The Qthara received our gifts thousands of years ago. We have been searching the galaxy ever since, looking for other species who show signs of awakening. Zion spoke up for the first time during the meeting, his young voice carrying an unusual authority. The dragon sight lets us see the threads that connect everything. Past, present, and future are all woven together like a big spider web. Commander Arya nodded approvingly at the boy. Exactly, young one. With dragon sight, you can perceive probability streams, predict likely outcomes, and even influence quantum fields through focused intention. That explains how he can predict solar flares and interface with our computers, Maya said, pieces of the puzzle finally starting to fit together. But there's more. Commander Arya's tone became more serious. The awakening of dragon sight in humans has been detected by other galactic powers. Two in particular pose a significant threat to your world. The mood in the room shifted from wonder to concern. Colonel Carter's military training kicked in immediately. What kind of threat? The Collective is a massive network of artificial intelligences that have consumed entire star systems, turning all organic life into computational resources. They fear species with dragon sight because we cannot be predicted or controlled by their algorithms. Dr. Davis felt a chill run down her spine. And the other threat? The ethereals are beings of pure mental energy who believe they are the rightful rulers of all consciousness in the universe. They view the awakening of new dragon sight species as a challenge to their authority. Zion closed his eyes and his pupils dilated as he seemed to peer through time itself. When he opened them again, everyone in the room could see worry in his young face. They're already coming, he said quietly. Both of them. I can see their ships in the dark between stars. Commander Arya placed one of her large, scaled hands gently on the table. This is why we came to Earth. The Qthara have faced both the Collective and the ethereals before. We know how to fight them, but we cannot do it alone. How long do we have? Colonel Carter asked, already thinking about military preparations. Zion's eyes glowed brighter as he concentrated. The first scout ships will arrive in 14 months. The main fleets will follow 6 days later. They're bringing everything they have. Everything? Maya whispered. Millions of ships, Zion replied. They want to destroy humanity before more people like me wake up. Commander Arya stood up, her massive form casting shadows across the room. But here is something they do not know. The dragon sight is not limited to one individual. Under the right circumstances, it can spread from person to person, awakening the dormant potential in others. Keisha gripped her son's hand tightly. You mean other humans could develop abilities like Zion's? Not could, Commander Arya corrected with what might have been a smile. Well, the process has already begun. Your son's presence has been slowly awakening others around the world. We have detected at least 50 humans who now show early signs of dragon sight. The implications hit everyone in the room at the same time. Humanity wasn't just facing an alien invasion, they were on the verge of an evolutionary leap that could change everything. But first they had to survive what was coming. The alarm sirens echoed through the massive space station orbiting Earth as Admiral Keisha Washington stepped onto the bridge of humanity's first true battleship, the Phoenix Rising. 14 months had passed since Commander Arya's warning, and now the moment everyone had been preparing for was finally here. Admiral, we're detecting massive energy signatures at the edge of our solar system, reported Captain Tony Martinez from his pilot's chair. His eyes now glowed with the same golden light as 10-year-old Zion's, marking him as one of the newly awakened humans with dragon sight. Standing beside the Admiral, Zion looked much older than his years. The stress of preparing for this war had changed him, but his dragon eyes still held the same gentle wisdom that had amazed everyone since his birth. "The collective vanguard is about to drop out of hyperspace," Zion said calmly, his young voice cutting through the tension on the bridge. 17 minutes and 32 seconds. "They'll try to surprise us by coming through the asteroid belt." Admiral Washington nodded grimly. Over the past year, 300 humans around the world had awakened with dragon sight. Scientists still couldn't explain exactly how it happened, but being near Zion seemed to trigger the dormant abilities in certain people. These awakened humans could now coordinate their thoughts instantly across vast distances, making them the perfect space pilots and strategic coordinators. "Dragon Squadron, this is your Admiral," Washington spoke into her communicator. "All pilots report ready status." "Dragon Leader standing by," came the voice of Lieutenant Maya Chin, Dr. Williams' daughter who had awakened just 6 months ago. "Dragon 2 through 20 ready for combat." In cities across Earth, more awakened humans sat in specially designed command centers, their glowing eyes closed in concentration as they tracked enemy movements through dimensions that normal humans couldn't even imagine. They formed a network of consciousness that spanned the entire solar system. "Admiral," called out Dr. Andre Thompson from the science station, "we're receiving a transmission from the collective." "Put it through." A cold, mechanical voice filled the bridge. "Organic species designation, human. Your evolutionary anomaly poses a threat to galactic order. Surrender the dragon sight individuals for processing, and your species will be preserved as a computational resource." Admiral Washington looked at Zion, who simply shook his head. "They don't understand," the boy said quietly. "They think we're just another species to be conquered. They have no idea what humans are really capable of when we work together." "Send them our response," the Admiral ordered. The communications officer transmitted a simple message back to the collective fleet. "Earth's answer is no." Suddenly, space around the asteroid belt erupted with light as hundreds of massive collective ships materialized from hyperspace. Each vessel was the size of a city, covered in gleaming metal and bristling with weapons that could destroy planets. "My God," whispered Captain Martinez, staring at the tactical display. "There are so many of them." But Zion smiled for the first time in weeks. Numbers don't matter when you can see all the possible futures at once. The battle began unlike anything in human history. The Dragon Squadron pilots didn't just fly their ships, they danced through space, moving in perfect harmony as if they were all part of one giant organism. They could sense where enemy fire would be before the weapons were even charged, dodging attacks that hadn't been fired yet. "This is impossible," came a panicked transmission from one of the collective ships. "Their movement patterns violate all predictive algorithms." On Earth, Dr. Maya Williams watched the battle from the command center, her own newly awakened dragon sight allowing her to see the cosmic chess game unfolding in space. "They're not just reacting to the enemy," she reported to the ground forces. "They're anticipating moves that haven't even been decided yet." The collective's vast computer minds, designed to calculate every possible outcome and choose the most efficient strategy, found themselves completely overwhelmed. How do you fight an enemy who can see your decisions before you make them? "Dragon Leader to all units," transmitted Lieutenant Chin. "The enemy flagship is preparing to fire their planet-killer weapon. But I can see the exact moment when their shields will cycle down for 0.3 seconds. All ships, execute Zion Protocol," Admiral Washington ordered. 20 human fighters, moving with impossible precision, converged on the massive collective flagship at the exact moment its defenses flickered. Their combined attack struck at the one vulnerable point that would exist for less than half a second. The enormous enemy ship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, taking out a dozen smaller vessels with it. But the real surprise came next. As the collective fleet regrouped and prepared their counterstrike, something amazing happened on Earth. The stress and excitement of the battle triggered a massive awakening. Thousands of humans around the world suddenly found their eyes changing to that distinctive golden color. "Admiral," Zion said with growing excitement, "it's happening faster than we thought. The dragon sight is spreading. I can feel new voices joining our network every second." The boy was right. In hospitals, schools, offices, and homes across the planet, ordinary people were suddenly able to perceive reality in ways they never imagined. A nurse in Tokyo could see the quantum patterns in her patient's DNA. A teacher in Brazil could predict exactly which student needed help before they even raised their hand. And in space, The growing network of awakened human consciousness began to coordinate in ways that made the collective's computer networks look primitive by comparison. The machines had come to destroy humanity's evolution, but instead they had triggered humanity's greatest leap forward. The real war was just beginning. The final battle was unlike anything the universe had ever witnessed. Deep beneath the Colorado mountains, in a specially built chamber carved from solid rock, 10-year-old Zion stood at the center of a glowing circle. His dragon eyes now blazed with such intense light that looking directly at him was like staring into a golden sun. Around the world, millions of humans who had awakened with dragon sight sat in meditation, their consciousness connected to Zion and each other in a vast network that spanned the entire planet. What had started with just one special baby had now spread to nearly 10% of humanity. "The Ethereals are making their final push," reported Captain Tony Martinez from his fighter squadron high above Earth's atmosphere. His voice crackled through the communication system as energy weapons lit up the darkness of space around him. "They're trying to break through our dimensional barriers." Dr. Maya Williams stood beside Zion in the underground chamber, her own awakened abilities allowing her to see the cosmic battle playing out across multiple layers of reality. "It's not just happening in normal space anymore," she said to the other scientists monitoring the situation. "They're attacking us through dimensions we can't even name." The Ethereals were beings made of pure mental energy who had ruled vast sections of the galaxy for millions of years. Unlike the mechanical collective, these creatures existed partially outside of normal reality, able to attack minds directly and control entire populations through telepathic domination. But they had never encountered anything like humanity's dragon sight network. "They're confused," Zion said, his young voice echoing strangely in the chamber as his consciousness expanded beyond his physical body. "They expected to find individual minds they could overpower one by one. Instead, they're facing something they've never seen before, millions of minds working as one." Above ground, the battle raged across Earth's skies. Admiral Keisha Washington coordinated the defense from her flagship, but she was no longer giving orders in the traditional sense. Instead, her thoughts flowed directly to every pilot, every gunner, every person involved in the fight, creating perfect coordination without the need for words. "Dragon Network, this is your admiral." Her voice resonated directly in the minds of awakened humans everywhere. "Show these ancient bullies what human creativity looks like when we all work together." The response was immediate and devastating. Human fighters didn't just dodge enemy attacks, they seemed to flow around them like water, moving in patterns that were both beautiful and impossible. The pilots weren't following any military manual or tactical doctrine. They were creating art with their spacecraft, turning the battle into a three-dimensional dance that the rigid, ancient minds of the Ethereals couldn't understand or counter. On the surface, ordinary humans who had just awakened were discovering abilities that amazed even themselves. Dr. Lisa Davis found that she could now see the quantum structure of matter itself, allowing her to strengthen the molecular bonds in damaged equipment just by touching it. A janitor named Bobby from Detroit discovered he could communicate directly with electronic systems, turning every computer and smartphone on Earth into extensions of the human defense network. "The enemy fleets are starting to retreat," reported Lieutenant Maya Chin from her position near the moon. "Both the collective and the Ethereals are pulling back their main forces." But Zion shook his head, his glowing eyes seeing far beyond the immediate battle. "This isn't over. They're planning something desperate. The Ethereals are going to try to collapse the dimensional walls between realities. If they succeed, it won't just destroy Earth, it could unravel this entire section of the universe." The thought was terrifying, but humanity's response was remarkable. Instead of panic, there was determination. The awakened humans around the world began to focus their combined will on a single purpose, not just defending their planet, but healing the damage the ancient powers had caused throughout the galaxy. "I can see it now," Zion said with wonder in his voice. "This is what the first ones knew would happen. They didn't just give us the ability to see across dimensions, they gave us the power to fix what's broken." Across the cosmos, the Dragon Sight Network reached out to touch other worlds where oppressed species had suffered under the rule of the collective and the Ethereals. On planets where organic life had been enslaved by machines, humans began awakening dormant abilities in other species. On worlds where the Ethereals had crushed free will for millennia, the network offered something the ancient beings couldn't understand or stop: hope. "The Ethereals are abandoning their attack," came reports from monitoring stations around Earth. "Their fleets are scattering in all directions. The collective ships are powering down their weapons," added another voice. They're asking for negotiation terms." For the first time since the crisis began, Zion opened his physical eyes and looked around the chamber at the amazed faces of the scientists and military personnel who had watched over him for so many years. "It's not about being stronger than them," the young boy explained. "It's about showing them a better way to exist. The dragon sight doesn't just let us see what is, it lets us see what could be." In the months that followed, Earth became the center of a new galactic community. Human ships departed for distant stars, but not as conquerors. They carried teachers, healers, and guides who could help other species unlock their own hidden potential. The network that had started with one baby's unusual eyes had become something that connected countless worlds. And at its heart, humanity had found its true purpose, not to rule the universe, but to help it grow into something beautiful. The age of human guidance had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same.